Welcome to the Taproom Exclusive. I'm Dean Zarbaugh. I am here at Bookhouse Brewing on West 25th. I'm with Vaughn Stewart. Vaughn, thank you for having me out here, first of all, and thank you for being on the show. This is my first time here. You guys just opened pretty recently, last September, is that right?
Yeah.
Right around then?
Yeah, let's see. We had a soft opening in September, and then our grand opening was October 6th.
Okay.
Yep. So since then it's been pretty crazy opening a new business, brewery, and but yeah, it's been good. Yeah.
For being a new brewery, tell the people a little bit about yourself and what Bookhouse is. What do you guys like to focus on? You guys have a really nice atmosphere in this building.
Thanks.
I've seen a lot of people, post about this place. So give the people who might be unfamiliar with Bookhouse a little rundown of what everything is here.
Sure. So, Bookhouse Brewing, it kind of harkens to our philosophy, the name meaning kind of thoughtful hospitality. And that's really what we try to focus on and what our tap room is kind of designed around as much as possible. Really, it came together in a really fortuitous way because the building and the space itself has a lot of history that we're just trying to kind of honor and do our best to preserve and present in a good light. And so part of the story of the building and the space, they're twined together with the brand itself, with the brewery itself. And so this building where the tap room was built in 1866.
Oh, wow.
As the home for Jacob and Magdalena Bear. They opened the Bear Brewery, which is spelled Baehr. They were German Mennonite immigrants, and they set up this family brewery here. And Jacob died after about 7 years of running the brewery and left it to Magdalena. She ran the business until about 1901. When she sold to the Cleveland Sandusky, it's like a brewing conglomerate kind of thing. It's pretty common around that time. And, so Magdalena was known as Cleveland's widow brewer, and so there's a whole history there, and that kind of ties into the name of our Pilsner, but we'll circle back on that. But in any case, yeah. So the space itself, after that, it served a number of purposes, including as a tin manufacturing kind of place.
Oh, wow.
Machine shop, a handful of kind of standard Cleveland light industrial things.
Yeah, it's gone through a few changes.
Yeah. But the nice thing is, especially in the room we're in, the tin that would have been made here and shown here, this would have been kind of a showroom, we believe,
nice.
for that tin making process. So it's mostly, we just kind of left a lot of what was here already intact. And then the brick of the original house, most of it is still intact. And so we kind of touched some things up here and there, but really just tried to keep a lot of the historical character on display. And it's really, again, our sort of philosophy is just wanting people to be comfortable, wanting it to be a fairly laid back place. We don't have TVs. We really want to focus on community conversation, that kind of thing, and doing that over a beer.
Yeah, getting to know the person sitting next to you.
Yeah, exactly.
I like that. That's, you go into a lot of places, everybody's just kind of looking at a TV or looking at their phone or something. We're not really interacting with the people around us anymore, and it's nice to kind of get back to that and have a place that wants to be the place to do that.
Yeah.
So that's awesome. I really appreciate that you guys do that, because we definitely get lost in technology these days.
Yeah.
And it's nice to just sit down and enjoy a beer with somebody and talk. And you guys, you're in a great location for beer in Cleveland. You're right here off West 25th. I mean, there's so many great breweries around. You got Great Lakes and Market Garden and everybody right a stone's throw away. So that's got to bring a lot of people in to you guys, and the passport program too. I'm sure is just bringing a lot of new eyes to this place.
Yeah, the passport, we just missed the cutoff for the previous year.
Yeah,
but we're going to be on it in this coming printing. So yeah, I think we're really looking forward to that.
That's good. Everything I've heard about that passport's been amazing.
Yeah. And yeah, it's definitely a great area for tourism, for beer tourism. Yeah, like you said, I mean, Market Garden and Great Lakes right down the street. Saucy's 1,000 feet away.
Yeah.
Brick and Barrel's right down the hill. Forest City, Hansa. There's no shortage of great beer to be had in Ohio City.
And that's what's fun is getting out and trying all these places. You can park one place and just walk everywhere. It gives you some nice exercise to go out along with the beer that you're going to be drinking.
Yeah, for sure.
So what got you started in beer? How'd you get brewing?
Yeah, well, so I guess the slightly long version is I graduated from Ohio University with a degree in music recording.
Okay.
In 2008, and that was kind of at the height of the recession, and it was kind of a dying-ish industry anyway. So I started homebrewing just as a hobby, and that kind of led to a job in retail, selling supplies for Northern Brewer in Milwaukee. So sold homebrew supplies there for about 2 years, then moved into management and marketing up in the Twin Cities for them. Did that for a couple more years, and then kind of got the itch to start brewing professionally. Went to brewing school online at the Siebel Institute.
Oh, nice.
And at the same time started working as a cellarman and brewer at Arcadia Brewing Company.
Oh, very nice.
That was originally in Battle Creek, and then after about a year, when the Kalamazoo facility was built and came online, I started in a brewing manager role there. And yeah, worked there for a bit, and then moved to Cleveland to run operations at Portside.
Okay.
Yep. And so I was at Portside for about a year and a half until they kind of closed their doors. And then after that, started working on this. And this whole operation started pretty much right about a year to the day that things at Portside ended.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And then I've been obviously doing things
since.
here. Yeah.
Well, you guys, you've been doing some awesome stuff here. It's nice to always see people on like the Facebook groups and stuff posting about their first time coming here and stuff. It's great to see everybody getting to know that you're here now and you're making some great beer. Go into the Pilsner a little bit about what was the idea behind doing a Pilsner. You don't see that's kind of a growing trend now is getting back into the Pilsners, and I like seeing that. I like Pilsners, I like lagers. What was that inspiration for you to get back into that?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's funny you kind of caught yourself mid-sentence there when it's like you want to say you don't see him, but actually you kind of do.
You do now.
And so it's fun. I think especially in Cleveland, I think Cleveland has such a history with, Great Lakes having built a lot of what it has done on Dortmunder and Christmas Ale. But and so lager, I think, has been an important part of Cleveland brewing culture for a long time. And really it's just kind of trying to pay homage to the fact that it's a strong part of the culture. It also ties in well because our Pilsner is called Magdalena Pilsener. Oh, so nice. You'll recall that was the name of the proprietress of the brewery here. And then I kind of took that to the next step and said, well, she was around at a certain time and a certain period of brewing history. And so it's modeled after a kind of Pilsner that would have likely been made by the Bear Brewery.
Oh, nice.
Between 1860 and
kind of like a throwback Pils.
Mm-hmm. So we call it a pre-prohibition Pilsner.
Nice.
And so really the distinguishing factors there is the malt bill has 6-row barley instead of 2-row barley. There's history behind that. Mainly, 6 row is kind of hard to find nowadays. It used to be preferred by industrial brewers because this is kind of the whole point of making the Pilsner this way is you would use 25 to 50% corn. And that corn would work well with the barley to create a beer that is light, refreshing, and clear without a lot of filtration.
Okay.
So it serves a number of technical goals as well as flavor goals, but our interpretation of it is pretty straightforward with about 75% 6-row barley and 25% flaked corn.
Okay.
So it's still very much a full-bodied malty beer, but just with a little bit of a crisp finish from that corn. It's fermented with the most common lager yeast in the world. It's what pretty much everyone uses to make lager because it's a very good and easy yeast to work with. Mm-hmm. And the hops are U.S. Sterling. Sterling's a variety that was developed in the Pacific Northwest as a replacement for Czech Saz.
Okay.
Which, you would know from lager history as being, the preferred hop. But Saaz as a hop is pretty difficult to grow. Really only likes to grow in certain regions and just has problems. So Sterling was developed to be flavor-wise and aroma-wise and whatnot very similar to Saaz, but easily grown in the U.S. and so on. So anyway,
more accessible.
Yeah, and so the beer itself, is fairly has a firm bitterness, but it finishes fairly light and refreshing. The concept of a gateway beer, it's somewhat, I don't know, imperfect or insulting, I guess, to some extent. But it really, I think it does serve well for all kinds of drinkers, whether you're like an experienced craft beer drinker or just getting into it. Like, it's just a very approachable, drinkable, tasty beer.
See, like, I always tell a story. My grandfather was very much he was Bud Light. Mm-hmm. That was his beer. And he'd drink Dortmunder and stuff, going into like what you were saying about the culture of getting people into that. But he never really did craft. He never really considered himself a craft guy. But he's the kind of guy that likes just a Pilsner. Yeah. So he would come in probably, and I put that in front of him without telling him what it is or whatever. Right. He would drink it right up.
Right.
And so it's a great, it makes everybody happy. It makes the craft heads who really want to nerd out about it happy, and then it makes the guy that's a blue collar worker coming in for an after work beer happy because it's beer.
Yeah, and that's a little bit of kind of another piece of my kind of philosophy is like, to some extent, I think that as the concept of craft beer is evolving, and as the market as people are trying to figure out like where the market is, where we can go. I think that increasingly you're seeing brewers and breweries trying to meet people where they are rather than push them to where they want to be. Yeah. And I think that that's a healthier attitude towards growth and inclusion anyway.
Yes.
So it's more of that kind of thing. And we can get into this a little more too, but like for me, a lot of what I think about as far as just the beer as separate from the environs of the tap room, which is not to say the tap room's not important, but that the beer should be able to stand on its own as something that you can enjoy and that can facilitate, conversation and connection. But basically, I think of it as you should almost be able to ignore the beer and to focus on the person you're talking to and to the interaction you're having. The beer's just there to kind of, act as background noise or pleasant accompaniment. And if
get
the
beer
rolling. But it's also like, if the beer is too interesting or is too challenging or is too whatever, it's drawing your attention away. And that, to me, that's not the goal of the beers that I brew.
Gotcha.
I want the beer to be secondary to whatever else is going on and whatever
the
else
experience.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, and I saw you guys now you got the 3-pack crowler holders. Sure. I really like. I didn't know about those. I didn't know they did like 3-packs. And like I was somewhere. I think I was at Masthead, and I saw something that my dad wanted, and I ordered 2 for him. And I was like, oh, I want 2 things of my own. And I didn't think that they did 3, so I basically had an extra one, and I was like, oh, this is. But it's nice to be able to take it home and enjoy it. And be able to still do the experience at home.
Exactly.
Like to what you're saying is you can take the beer out of the tap room, drink it at home, and still enjoy it and still create experiences with the people around you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's what I like about this industry. I really think that trying to bring people together around something is a really admirable goal for everybody. And I think, when you hear about how many breweries there are, just in Cleveland, not alone, just Ohio, it's nice to see how big it is, but how small it is at the same time. Because we all interact with each other, and it's really nice to have that common goal of beer, and we can all help each other out. And it's not like a rivalry thing.
Right.
It's been really fun to experience that over the last year of doing the show, is just to see, you think in most industries, okay, this guy is right next to me. He does the same thing as me. Oh, I want to get that guy out of here. But in the beer industry, you don't hear that. Yeah. You're like, oh man, let's help this guy out.
Yeah.
And I think that's really awesome. And you guys do a lot of community-minded events around here too, don't you? Mm-hmm. And that's a great thing. A lot of fundraisers and stuff.
Yeah. we do our best to work with all kinds of groups and do all kinds of different events. A number of them have kind of a literary or book focus, but it's not exclusive to that by any means. And really, a lot of what we're trying to do is to respond to what is going on in their community and what our patrons want to see, what just people in the community want to see, and also then, what we can do to make people who may not even know we exist to bring ourselves in front of their eyes and say, hey, you say you have an interest in poetry or in local authors or something like that. If we can do something that gets those people in the door and just kind of gives them the chance to see what we're on about, we're not necessarily going to get every single person to come back every single time, but it's still, to me, that's still a huge benefit in just increasing the possibility that someone will know that we're here and this is what we're about and this is what we're doing. So there's a lot of things I think that we can do with community events and local events and stuff like that.
Yeah, absolutely. I love the community mindedness of this community of beer.
Yeah.
Sure. Anything else that you want to get out about Bookhouse or the Pilsner before we head out to next week's episode?
I don't know. I mean, I think in terms of things to look forward to and other kind of little notes, we have a small stage that we've built, and we're looking forward to doing a little more with that. We're just finalizing some paperwork and city-related things. But in terms of doing more with live entertainment of one sort or another, that's kind of coming down the pike. And then we do – a lot of people ask about food and things like that. We have a pretty robust schedule of food vendors, pop-ups on especially Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But we also always have bar snacks, and we do hot pasties. That's kind of our thing.
Nice.
And then one other little thing, we make cider. We're a licensed winery.
Oh, nice.
So I make cider, and always looking to grow that, do some more experiments, and just kind of try to, again, meet people where they are rather than pushing them to where we think they should be.
Absolutely. Yeah. Vaughn, thank you so much. Tune in next week for part 2 of the Bookhouse feature.